Hey, we are here today to celebrate the publication of What If by Bronwyn Frazer. Congratulations, Bronwyn. How are you feeling?
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, I'm feeling really good. A little bit nervous, but excited at the same time, which I think is pretty normal.
Very normal. Can you tell viewers, please, about your book and what prompted you to write it?
Yeah, sure. So my book is called What If? How to Reframe Challenges into Growth Opportunities. And in a nutshell, that's what it's about. It's a collection of 44 insights that combine stories from my own life and how I've dealt with each, and in doing so, learned and grown through each situation. Some situations have been way more challenging than others, and it's only with hindsight that I've been able to see perhaps what some of the blessings in disguise have been. But the growth opportunities has been the main thing that I've learned throughout my life through challenges, and that's what I want to share in the book. Yeah, and as we've talked about before, I really wasn't necessarily going to write this book. I thought the information was just for myself, but earlier this year, around May, I started getting personal prompts. My intuition was sort of giving me a bit of a nagging session and saying, you actually need to make a book out of this. You need to put it into a book form now and share that information.
Amazing. And what about the actual writing process? How long did it take you to write, and what did your writing routine look like?
Sure. So this information came to me really fast. I had some different experiences. Back in 2017, I was hiring a car in Artarmon in Sydney, and I would drop the car back on a Sunday afternoon, and on my walk home, I would get inspiration for this book. And all of the information was posed in what if questions and then statements. And it was, I used to think of what if as being a really negative thing to say. I used to have negative what ifs, but the inspiration that was coming through was actually, no, what if something good happened from something that perhaps I had previously thought of as bad or challenging or so on. So that happened for 4 Sundays in a row, and I was just writing down notes as fast as it was coming through. And then I put the notes aside, and it wasn't until earlier this year that I had a look at my notes, and I thought, actually, there's some gold in that. And so then I set myself a target, and I got the book done in 2 months. And yeah, so it was fast, and it was very much for me, having to be really disciplined in putting aside time every day to write and review my notes, and then if need be, rewrite.
Yep. And could you tell people about some of the themes that your book helps people with?
Yeah, so there's 4 big themes in the book. One is growing through discomfort. One is learning through relationships. And the third one is dealing with death. And the fourth one is using challenges to consciously create something inspirational, something really positive for yourself and for others as well.
Terrific. You come from a large family. You were one of 8 children, and I just found it so fascinating how this shaped your outlook on life. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, look, when you grow up in a large family, everything is very different. You quickly learn that you have to share. You learn the importance. You learn the importance of teamwork. You actually develop a lot of emotional intelligence skills as well, because your siblings are constantly challenging your behavior and your attitudes and giving you feedback that perhaps some people from smaller families or children that are only one in a family, they might not experience until they get out to school or beyond school and into the workplace. So So I got a lot of really good things out of a big family scenario, and that set me up for the rest of my life, basically.
Yeah, it sure did. I love how you say you realized quite quickly that if you wanted something, you needed to get it. It was not going to be handed to you on a plate. And that kind of resourcefulness and initiative really comes through in the book.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I learned is if I don't do it for myself, it won't get done.
Mm.
And if I don't learn how to pick myself up, then no one's going to be around to pick me up. So it's sort of, in a way, foundations for resilience and independence, and you acknowledging that you actually have it within you to get through anything. So a lot of really good lessons, a lot of crazy experiences as well.
Where were you in the eighth? How many older and younger siblings did you have?
Yeah, so I'm baby number 6.
Mm-hmm.
And so the older ones are 2 years above me, like 2 years break. And then baby number 7 is 5 years younger. And then baby number 8 is 12 years younger. So there's actually 20 years difference between the oldest and the youngest.
Wow.
Yeah. So
your parents were incredibly busy people. I just, we all think we're busy. But when I hear of your parents having 8 children and then they decide to acquire an Italian restaurant and learn how to cook Italian, I was just like, wow. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So yes, my parents challenged themselves in so many ways, and one of the crazy things that happened was just before my 10th birthday, they decided to buy an Italian restaurant, even though we weren't Italian, and and then run it. They were taught by an Italian family who owned the business. They learned how to make pizzas and all the sauces and all the traditional Italian meals, and then as a consequence of that, all of us, the immediate family, we were in the business as well. So I technically started working when I was 10. I wasn't allowed to serve customers until I could see above the counter. Yeah, and it was nothing was classy about the restaurant. It was very much like a Faulty Towers type restaurant, except I think my mum was more like Basil and Dad was more like Sybil. So it was back in the 80s, and there was no such thing as customer service. It was like what's happening.
But the restaurant remained open for how long?
8 years. 8 years. That
success.
Yeah. My dad loved it so much. He loved hospitality so much that he went on and established other businesses, cafes and restaurants. So yeah, it was pretty brave and fun at the same time.
Fantastic. So amazing. Your parents, they were role models to you because they were so hardworking, weren't they? What did you take away from that as we apply it to our lives?
So my parents were incredibly resilient, and they taught me that that things don't necessarily that there's always a solution to every problem. My parents were incredibly resourceful, and I guess in a lot of ways they taught me that life's meant to be an adventure. So yeah, they taught me to look at life from different angles. And my dad, who's no longer with me, he used to just be so wise. He'd just share he'd just share. I'd tell him about my latest adventure or misadventure, and then he'd give me a different way of looking at it. So
amazing, beautiful. Why is it so important to have the right outlook on life? What kinds of benefits does it give people with a great outlook on life?
I think the main thing is that people need to understand that their outlook on life actually impacts their physical health, their mental health, their relationships, both romantic and in their families, but also relationships at work as well. And what I've learned is that each challenge sets us up for the next challenge, and it helps us develop resilience and self-awareness and emotional intelligence. And I've also learned through my own experiences that when you have a more positive mindset, you're able to move through challenges with acceptance faster. And in doing so, you feel way more empowered, and you hopefully make better choices too. Yeah. So what if is very much about, instead of looking at things from a a negative what if, as in what if something bad happens, flipping it around and going, actually, what could go right? What if I looked at this a bit differently, a bit more positively, with the cup half full as opposed to the cup half empty? So,
it's a really powerful mind shift.
for me, it has been, because work and my family upbringing in some ways, and also Australian culture as well, teaches us to probably be more on the cup half full sort of side of things.
I agree.
So yeah, and as you know, my background is in communications, corporate communications, and in my past, I've written strategy around the what if something bad happens. But the book is trying to reset that and helping me to see that sometimes when things didn't work out, they actually were working out. I know that might sound a bit strange, but yeah, there were positives in each challenge that I've experienced. Yeah.
These are not sort of merely, hiccups through the day or anything that you're writing about. I mean, you lost your brother, and you've lost some other people who were really close to you in your life. And so did your parents. There was a lot of tragedy during the years. What have you taken away from these, the most challenging of experiences?
So the biggest challenge for me definitely has been dealing with death. And I know it's a really uncomfortable topic in Western society, how we deal with it. It's very much around loss and grief. The thing for me is, so one of my uncles died at around the age of 7 or 8 with leukemia. Another uncle on the other side of the family, he died in a house fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And my brother died in his sleep. So I've since lost other family members and close friends as well. So for me, it very much teaches me that we shouldn't take life for granted, that every person in our life should be valued, and every day should be enjoyed as well, because life changes very quickly and we're not in control of that.
Yeah. If a reader was to take away one message from your book, what would it be?
The main message I want to get across is that we can't always control what happens, but we can actually control how we perceive things. And then with self-awareness and conscious intention, we can respond differently.
Okay. This is not your first book. What are some of the key lessons you learned in writing and publishing your second book? Your first book is called Employ Me. And was that 2020 it came out?
No, that one came out in 2016, so a little while ago. And that one is very much focused on helping people find the work that they want, particularly people with little or no job seeking skills. This one is completely different. But this one taught me a lot of things, including that it's really important not to overthink the writing process. It's important just to put all your ideas down and as much as possible try and structure them into chapters and then go back and have another read and edit at the end instead of editing as you're working through it, which slows you down. So for me, that really worked this time around.
Yeah, it's possible to become paralyzed, I think. And it's really important, I think, to give yourself the freedom to put all your words on the page and then you can strip them back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's writing without judgment of what you put down and trusting your voice as well. And we each have a different style. There's no right and wrongs when you're writing a book. You just need to share your voice, basically. You need to share what's important for you and trust that it's going to be important for your readers as well.
Maintaining that confidence throughout, though, is easier said than done, right?
It is. And I mean, to be honest, I didn't really want to write this book, but it was just something in me that kept nagging me.
The book wrote you.
Yeah, the book wrote me. And I very much had to separate myself. You know, some of the things that I've written about were very personal and all very painful. But what I feel is that we learn by sharing our stories, and that's very much what I've tried to do in the book.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful goal and something that's worth pursuing. That's a really meaningful way to spend your life, I believe. Now that you've completed it, what is next for Bronwyn Frazer?
Yes, so I was thinking that you know, I might just get a job or do something.
No. As you talk.
Crazy. Well, I thought that I was next going to be writing a nutrition book for adults because I actually have a degree in nutrition. So that's on my radar.
Oh, interesting.
But I have to write a children's book before I write the adult nutrition book. So that's next on my list.
Would you like to talk about that, or would you like to announce later?
It's still coming together, Jess. So yeah, it's still cooking. It's changing a bit. It's going to be very different for me, because it will be non-fiction, but with my voice narrated by an animal in it. So
that is so sweet. I should say, though, you know, in the course of working together, which has been a delight, my daughter Olivia, who's 5, when I put her to bed, we did it again last night. So 3 nights in a row. 3 nights ago, she began saying to me, but what if I lose my jumper tomorrow? What if the nice teacher doesn't come? And I said, hey, I'm working with an author who wrote a book called What If, but it's all the good what ifs. And instead of catastrophizing, she makes up 5 great what ifs. And then I say, tell me your favorite ones in the morning. And it just switches her thinking. She really, again, she did it last night. She loves doing it. It's amazing. It's very powerful.
I think it is incredibly powerful, and I would have loved to have read a book like this one that I've just written when I was younger. I really would have got a lot out of understanding that our mind can create certain situations, but they don't necessarily happen. And if we can take a really positive aspect or just try and use our creativity to create something positive, then we can actually shift our mood, shift our thinking, and hopefully something good comes from that as well. And your daughter is definitely, she's part of the reason that I'm writing this children's book, because I know that we've all been through COVID. I know that there's some pretty big issues that came out of COVID, including mental health. And I'd like to empower young kids with some fundamentals that can hopefully set them up for their future, so that they feel more empowered, so that they trust themselves, and so that they think more positively.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Bronwyn, where can people find you and get in touch and get your book? And also, what's your favorite social media platform if people would like to connect with you?
Yes, so I can be found at my website, which is Bronwyn Frazer, Frazer with a Z.com.au. And people can buy author signed copies off my website. So that's one way. My book is also available at the moment in print form and ebook on Amazon. And in a month's time, I will also have an audio book of the book as well, which is pretty exciting. And my favorite social media at the moment, I really enjoy Instagram. So I have an account called Bronwyn Frazer Wellness, and that's holistic health, but also of late talking about the book and the information shared in the book as well.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations once again on the publication of What If. Enjoy the rest of your happy pub day, as I like to call it.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate your help.